Perfect Taekwondo vs Mubong Park, the God of High School 487 reaction, review, analysis or explained. Call it whatever you want to call it, it's up to you. Quick spoiler warning, make sure you read it before you watch this video. Anyway, in this chapter or episode, 6 main things happened. Number 1. We saw the new base of the world government under Ilpyo, which is a nuclear level bunker located beneath a mountain and was created by Jonef. Number 2. We were introduced to Perfect Taekwondo for the first time. Number 3. Ilpyo got his hands on the Holy Grail and he plans to use it to get Mori's powers back and seal Mubong's powers. And that Mubong hasn't completely fused with Tathagata yet. This guy still hasn't finished powering up yet. Number 4. We saw Mori's plan to go to the Dragon Palace and either fix yeoui or get a new weapon. Number 5. We saw that the rabbit girl of the 4 pillars managed to infiltrate the base. I hope she doesn't ruin all their plans. And finally, number 6. We saw that Daewi somehow survived his encounter with Mubong. I'm guessing someone saved him. He ended up in some random place and apparently has a wife and kid now. I wonder what Mira will do when she finds out. Anyway, I found the idea of Perfect Taekwondo very interesting. So let's talk about that. Let's get straight into it. First of all, what is Perfect Taekwondo? They said that Perfect Taekwondo is the combination of ITF Taekwondo, renewal Taekwondo as well as Ssamsu Taekkyeon. Before I go further, I want to touch briefly on the 3 fighting styles themselves. First, we have ITF Taekwondo. ITF Taekwondo was developed by North Korea. It used the original Taekwondo as a foundation and added to it the best points of many different martial arts through 5,000 years of Chinese history. As a counter, South Korea produced renewal Taekwondo through the study of the North's ITF Taekwondo. Basically, they studied ITF, then improved upon it by taking out any weaknesses they found and stuff like that. After that came Ssamsu Taekkyeon. This is the yeoui Taekkyeon with its weaknesses overcome with the addition of some aspects taken from renewal Taekwondo. On the surface, it may seem pointless to add the 3 together since they seem to follow a chain, with one improving on the other. Like, what's the point in teaching someone renewal and ITF when renewal is like an improved version of ITF anyway? Well, if we take a closer look, we can see how the 3 will benefit and complement each other. Firstly, let's look at the way in which renewal Taekwondo improved upon ITF Taekwondo. When South Korea developed renewal, they captured a lone North Korean ITF Taekwondo user and based all of their adjustments on him. This means that they studied only the finished product of ITF and not the 5,000 years of its foundation, which leads to missing out on some specifics. Basically, this means that while renewal is definitely an improvement on ITF Taekwondo, it's missing something important. We can see this clearly during the fight between Suujin Lee and Mori Jin, where Suujin Lee points out the original uses of certain techniques within Mori's arsenal. And her way of utilizing the original ITF Taekwondo techniques is shown to be better. Even though, overall, Mori's style is better. I'm just referring to some specifics. Now, let's look at Ssamsu Taekkyeon. Ssamsu is an improvement over renewal in the aspect of not having the weaknesses which renewal has, which Ilpyo demonstrated in his fight with Mori. But the problem is that its base of Taekkyeon is just not as good or powerful as Taekwondo, so in that respect, it falls short. So now we come to the main question, how well would the 3 of them come together? Well, Perfect Taekwondo, as they called it, should have the knowledge of the strong foundations and specifics of ITF, the improvement of renewal and also the variety and strong points of Ssamsu Taekkyeon that make up for some of the weaknesses. Pretty cool, isn't it? Now, I want to ask another question. Why is it that no one could come up with this concept as a standard fighting style up until now? Well, there were some things hindering the process. Conflict. Namely the conflict between North and South Korea, the developers of ITF and renewal Taekwondo. Let me show you what I mean. Why is it that South Korea didn't make the best use of the strong foundations and specifics of the original ITF and deeply studied the history that made ITF Taekwondo? Because as enemies, South Korea didn't have knowledge of or free and easy access to the history that made ITF Taekwondo. Also, why didn't Ilpyo Park pass on the strengths of Ssamsu Taekkyeon? Because he was killed in the battle against the North before he could pass on his style to a single person. His notes only reached Ilpyo Park thanks to Suujin Jin. But now, the successors of all 3 styles have come together in a fight for humanity against the strongest enemy ever. And so, Perfect Taekwondo is born. Before I go further, I want to quickly mention something here. Earlier I said the concept of Perfect Taekwondo as a standard fighting style didn't exist until now. Even though it didn't exist as a standard and formal fighting style, In some sense, the idea of perfect Taekwondo was and is already implemented by Mori, but in a more informal, non-systematic and non-standard way. We've seen Mori change and add to renewal Taekwondo in the past when he's needed to. Mori is always improving, updating, renewing and perfecting his fighting style. And that's essentially what perfect Taekwondo is, changing Taekwondo to produce the best fighting style possible. It's important that I mention the way Mori changes his renewal Taekwondo so that people don't get the wrong impression and think that the fighting style of these insignificant characters surpass that of the main characters. It doesn't. In other words, it's true that perfect Taekwondo is superior to the original renewal Taekwondo, but I would say Mori's specific style of renewal, Mori's specific fighting style is still superior to perfect Taekwondo. The reason is that Mori's fighting style is far beyond just basic renewal Taekwondo. Mori is adaptable and always changes his fighting style as is required in any given fight. Mori just does it in more of a freestyle and flexible manner, which is awesome. What I mean is Mori being able to copy other fighting styles and techniques just by encountering it once. This adds more to his arsenal and improves his unique fighting style. Also, his fighting IQ is way higher than other people. Of course, for the average individual who doesn't possess such adaptability and fighting IQ, perfect Taekwondo is better to learn as it comes with the best of martial arts as standard. Having or learning a good fighting style as a standard or foundation can only take you so far. The rest is upon the individual and their personal characteristics. Other than fighting style, there is another thing that separates Mori from others, which is pretty obvious, and that's his extraordinary power and abilities that he has as the Monkey King, which is not really the topic in this video. Anyway, now I want to go a bit into the teachers of perfect Taekwondo. The main teachers of perfect Taekwondo are Suujin Lee, Ilpyo Park and Dean Ockham. Suujin Lee is the master of and successor to ITF Taekwondo, who knows the specifics and original use of the techniques and has more knowledge of its deeper history. Ilpyo Park is the master of and successor to Ssamsu Taekkyeon with its added strength and variety. And Dean, the teacher of renewal Taekwondo. Why Dean and not Mori? My thinking is that it's to keep Mori's own style and way of fighting unique to him, and that's why they had Dean substitute in for Mori as a teacher. I'm actually happy they're making good use of Dean. Plus, the time that Mori would be using to teach, he can use to train and get stronger instead, so it's a win-win. Mori might give them some tips or advice later on, but I don't think he will be one of the main teachers for the reason I mentioned before. Anyway, now that I've covered the concept of perfect Taekwondo, I want to go into the narrative reason for its existence. I partly touched on it earlier, but I'll go more into it here. So why does it exist? Well, we know that there's always been a debate within the GOH verse on genuine fighting versus power borrowing. Mubong Park himself had wrestled with that question for a long time, especially after his defeat to Suujin Lee. Anyway, I think perfect Taekwondo will finally answer the question once and for all. The students of perfect Taekwondo will take on and beat the evolved or monster-like humans that Mubong Park created. And that will be humanity's final answer, the fight between real humanity and fake humanity. That will hit Mubong Park where it hurts, because he'll realize he came to the wrong conclusion. His defeat to Suujin Lee always haunted him. This time, it will turn into his biggest nightmare, as everything he built up will crumble at the hands of Taekwondo, proving that Mubong may have killed Suujin Lee, but the legacy Suujin Lee built will live on and defeat him. It's also the perfect revenge for Mubong to be defeated by Taekwondo. I really hope this does happen. Mubong Park and his army deserve to be defeated at the hands of Taekwondo. Obviously, I don't expect it to be that simple. They will most likely encounter problems in the fight with Mubong and the stronger guys in his army, but I hope you get the idea. Anyway, if you want me to make more videos like this related to the latest chapters, then please like, comment and share. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. Let me know your thoughts on perfect Taekwondo and this video in general. This is Anime Talks 101, so let's talk about it. Comment down below, I want to know your thoughts.